the Ukrainian Protoss player. He is red, representing Dominaticus Esports. It is HellRaiser.
Hell of a movie.
You have not seen it yet.
I have not, no, but I've put it on my list now.
There you go. There you go. Oh god, it's a bit of a classic. You by no means need to watch all the sequels. Don't worry, do not concern yourself with that. Honestly, that's the case with a lot of those old 80 movie franchises, to be honest.
Yeah.
It depends what you want out of it, to be fair. Like, you know.
Well, I really like bad horror movies, personally.
Yeah.
And by bad, I mean, the ones that are trying but don't quite succeed.
There are some.
That's a charm to it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some just enjoyable like horror movies that aren't necessarily scary, but you know, they're fun. They can be fun. I think that's the way to put it. But yeah,
like Leprechaun.
Sure, like Leprechaun. Question mark. Oh god,
Another movie I haven't seen.
Shaking my head, mate. But speaking of things that are fun, we are in this PvZ, and I cannot imagine we're gonna see another PvZ like the one we saw before. I feel like HellRaiser has a very unique playstyle, and I don't think anyone else in the European scene is so willing to just turtle up with stack defense and just tech up as fast as possible.
Probably not. Not even HellRaiser himself. I can't recall the last time I've even seen HellRaiser do that in a ZVP.
Previous series, mate.
Well, okay. Before that. Before then. That's what I was trying to get at.
True. Oh boy. And hopefully never again. We'll see. As we are getting into this, and lo and behold, we do have a Stargate opening.
Alright then. I'm not entirely convinced whether or not HellRaiser is going to commit to the Sky Toss, just because we are on Blackburn. It is a map that generally does favor more ground-based pushes, but at the same time, he's got to be aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe SortOf is the one who decides to be the aggressor instead.
Exactly. We'll keep an eye on things. One interesting thing is that SortOf did take the vertical third base instead of the triangular third. So at the moment anyway, it seems like he's not looking to be the aggressor. You know, he isn't looking to spread that creep as fast as possible. So yeah, very interesting location of that third.
He is, though, setting himself up to grab that gold base when the time comes.
Yeah, potentially. Once we do get up to that 4 base stage of the game. Meanwhile, I guess at the moment we are keeping our eye on HellRaiser. He gets the first Void Ray, he takes care of a couple of Overlords, but where does he go from here? Is he gonna throw down that Forge? Interestingly, he goes for the Oracle.
Yeah, it's one way of harassing across the map. See if it's just gonna be a single Oracle or even double Oracle, or if he decides to get a little bit cheekier with his harass.
Yeah, we'll see what else he throws down. Meanwhile, is this going to be for a second Stargate here from...
Okay! Things are about to heat up here on Blackburn as the fleet beacon gets thrown down before any second Stargate. Tempest?
I'm feeling Tempest. I'm feeling it.
Yeah?
I'm feeling it. Like there's no second Void Ray on the way, so he's waiting for the fleet beacon to finish before he produces anything. And we have seen the rise in popularity of Tempest on this map specifically because of the short rush distance and because you can abuse this location, sieging upon the main. King Cobra was able to pull that off a couple of weeks ago, I believe.
I was just about to mention, I think King Cobra was the one who re-popularized this strategy, and the first Tempest is coming out. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, this
SortOf completely blind to the main.
Exactly, like this was screaming Tempest. Meanwhile, SortOf, he hasn't seen this. He has also only seen a single Void Ray, which is a little bit odd. Usually you would see at least a second by now. So he knows that it wasn't immediately into a second Stargate. He may think that we have a commitment into say a Twilight Counter follow-up.
Yeah, that's the normal thing, right? When you see only one a single Void Ray out, as only a single Oracle as well, in your mind you're thinking, alright, you're done with Stargates, you're getting a Robo Facility out and a Twilight Council. That could be further from the truth.
Yeah, exactly, and so far these Tempests have stayed hidden. We do have some patrolling links, which is great, but SortOf still hasn't gone into the main base. He does confirm the site defense though at the 3rd, and this is a bit of a tell. This is like, okay, you are taking this slower, you're not being incredibly aggressive with a ground-focused army.
Yeah, despite not being able to get an Overlord into the main base, SortOf is keeping tabs on what HellRaiser's doing.
Yep, and immediately he throws down a Spire. He's like, ooh, because it could be carriers, right? It could it's like, that's the other thing. Yeah, so he is getting ready for that. He throws down the Infestation Pit as well. Meanwhile, the Tempests are moving out across the map, finally getting ready to lay siege and snipe some bases.
How surprised do you think SortOf is going to be when he sees the Tempest attack?
I think the patrolling link here spotted them. I could be wrong, but I think it did because there was a second one. The Queens do show up here, but because of this location, like, they don't necessarily have the range to deal with the Tempest.
That they do not. Tectonic Destabilizers, and yes, I did have to look at the at the add-on to see what the name of the upgrade is. Has finished up, so he can snipe this hatchery if he goes straight for it. There is a Queen just in range. HellRaiser still needs to be a little bit careful. Transfuse is helping.
It's not enough.
It shouldn't be enough. It ain't.
Exactly. The base does go down, and now the Queens are falling because the Queens wasted all of their energy on those transfuses trying to keep that hatchery alive. These Tempests doing so well already. What more can they get done? SortOf, please.
Another base. I think it's enough to one-shot that hatchery, actually.
Ooh.
There we go. Unable to cancel it in time. That's minus 300 resources.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's trying to go toe-to-toe with the Queens. Oh my god. One volley of them is enough to one-shot these Queens. He could try and go for them. Meanwhile, ooh, a little bit of a misrally. The Void Ray does get picked off.
Yeah, Flux Veins is about to pick up, but there aren't actually that many Void Rays that can take advantage of that. Is he trying to mineral lock?
No, it was a mistake. Okay, it was a misrally. Oh no, the workers. Ay. So much lost mining time. Meanwhile, at least one of the Tempests does get picked off, forces a recall, and the Roaches do sneak into the main, but they shouldn't get much damage done here.
Shouldn't. A real good body block with these Zealots, and the Void Rays are just about cleaning up what's left.
Meanwhile, finally, the workers do get back home.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's actually kind of working here for HellRaiser.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Like, he forced a cancel, he got a kill on another base, he was able to snipe some Queens as well, like, and I believe he only lost he only lost one Tempest.
Wow. All this time while keeping his third base alive and grabbing a fourth base that he's beginning to saturate now. What a start by HellRaiser.
Yeah, this is not looking good for SortOf. At least SortOf, again, he now has that gold base up and running. At least he didn't lose many of his workers. Like, he was able to keep them alive. Even though they went for a bit of a trip across the map, like, they did survive that trip, and now they are back, fully saturating this fourth. Greater Spires on the way. Like, his tech is there for SortOf. Like, he's solid.
Definitely is. Even a Viper out right now. It's gonna make... Parasitic Bomb is just going to make the control a lot trickier here for HellRaiser.
That it is. We also have a decent amount of Corruptors. Greater Spires on the way if needed. I'm not too sure if it is at the moment, but I guess a couple of Broodlords wouldn't hurt too much. Meanwhile, HellRaiser is pushing out now, and I do think now is his moment. Like, SortOf needs time. Needs time for the Spores, for the energy, for the Broodlords. Now is not that time.
Yeah, HellRaiser has a massive advantage right now. The 6 Broodlords are in production, but I'm not convinced they're really gonna make much of a difference as the game goes on. Vipers get picked off already. Only 2 Parabombs land, but 2 Parabombs are actually getting a lot done. They're really softening up the Void Rays as the Spore Crawls clean up. What's there to defend against the ground army, though?
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing at all.
Those 6 Broodlords are about to finish up, but are they going to be enough here? It looks like they will. The Corruptors are going down, though, and that's the scary part, because now the Tempest can focus on those Broodlords.
And they got a bit of a bonus against Broodlords, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Oh my god, they're getting picked off.
On the way.
Yeah, the first Broodlord immediately goes down, so will the second, but the Corruptors come out just in time.
Not in position yet, though!
God, that they are. Meanwhile, at the same time, we have Zealots all over the place. GG gets called. There was no answer to that ground army. And HellRaiser takes the first game.
In style, too. Taking a page out of the king himself. 90 probes and 136 drones have made that game like.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That was a very nice. What I will say is that was a very nice timing from HellRaiser to push out then and there. As we were bringing up, like SortOf was in the middle of transitioning. Like he was getting the Broodlords and getting the Vipers and getting the Sack Defense, but like he needed maybe another minute or two. So very nicely done there by HellRaiser.
And who'd have thought that we'd ever get to see Broodlords again in a ZVP after that laser series?
Yeah. We did say, in a different way, to be fair, in a different way.
Yeah. It was more of a response to what HellRaiser was doing, as opposed to Laser versus Strange, where Laser wanted to go into Broodlords regardless.
Yeah. And like I guess being a little bit more critical of that, it's hard to be, but I do think that that SortOf maybe overmade Broodlords there. He morphed in 6, maybe. And as we saw, when that happened, he literally morphed every single one of his Corruptors into Broodlords. And that's why like there was nothing to contest those Tempests, except for the reinforcements. But I guess that also like emphasizes that he did need more time.
Yeah, it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation at that point for SortOf, right? Sure, he had those Spore Crawls on the ground, but they were already getting decimated by the Zealots. He didn't have any ground forces remaining after his run-by got cleaned up. He needed some way of dealing with those Zealots, and doing so, unfortunately, left him vulnerable in the air. But that was game number 1. And we are here on game number 2 on 2,000 Atmospheres. LE, we're in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner. The red Protoss player from the land of Ukraine. He is representing Dominaticus Esports. We have HellRaiser.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2,000 Atmospheres, LE, we have the Swedish Zerg player currently representing Root Gaming. It is SortOf.
You're gonna think there's something wrong with me, Light, but hear me out. 2,000 Atmospheres is also a really good map for Tempest now, isn't it?
Nah, I was thinking the same thing.
There we go!
You're not wrong, it is a good map, but I don't know if it's wise to go for that strategy 2 games in a row. You know? Like,
I'm not wrong, just demented.
I wouldn't go that far, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if it's the wisest choice to go for it. At the same time, you could argue that HellRaiser has room to, you know, be more risky in this game. You know, maybe go for it because it worked in game 1. Maybe SortOf doesn't have like the best response to it figured out.
Does he have more room though? Because again, I'm not sure if my math checks out, but I believe Kung Fu Panda just needs to win 1 map in his match in order to advance. Assuming HellRaiser doesn't win 2-0. If HellRaiser wins 2-0, then I think it's a little bit different. Yeah,
that's a very good point. Like, it's not about winning the series, it's about winning in a dominating fashion if you want to get out of this group. Obviously HellRaiser, like, his fate also lies in Kung Fu Panda's series, right? Like, 2 things have to go well for him, but like one of them is within his control. So dropping a map here, it would mean that he won't be able to get out of the group.
Absolutely, he has to be so careful with how he plays this out.
Yeah. Oh boy. Meanwhile, here we go. The first step is there. We do have a Stargate opening from HellRaiser, but again, there are various different things that you can go from here. You can go into that double Stargate, Void Ray, you can go into a Twilight Council, or maybe you can go into Tempest.
As we just saw. I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be Tempest again, but as you were saying, it's not entirely wise to do so 2 games in a row. SortOf honestly had a good response once he figured out what was coming his way. He just figured it out too late.
Yeah. Like, there are players out there, shout out to Ryu, who, like, they prioritize Pneumatize Carapace and they dedicate Overlords and Overseers to dive in, to scout what's going on. But there are other players who, you could argue, better players who want to be a little bit more efficient.
Whoa.
And And what they do
Wait,
is they try to like piece things together with like incomplete information to like again like save as many resources as they can.
What are you trying to say about Ryu, man? Come on.
I mean, there is an MMR difference.
True. Yeah. There's a fact.
So that is why players at the highest level play. They cut corners where they can, because doing so gets them ahead, right?
Yeah. They do the math. They are basically the detectives of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, they are Batman.
Oh.
And we'll see where HellRaiser goes from here, because so far the opener is the exact same. He's getting his third up and running. He's got his Oracle on the way. He's got his first Void Ray out. Are we going to see Dayfleet Beacon? No.
Hope for it, but yeah, surprisingly not. It's going to be a second Stargate first. Get a bit more heavy into Void Rays. I still have to imagine that the Fleet Beacon is coming, just for Flux Veins, but not quite yet.
Yeah, could be for Flux Veins, could be for carriers later on.
No!
Oh, Oracle, please!
SortOf almost killed his own tumor.
Oh, no. SortOf, please. Meanwhile, 3 drones go down, and the Oracle survives, just barely, is forced back. But there we go. We have continued Void Ray production. We have +1 on the way. So this is the more standard, like, Sky Toss opener from HellRaiser.
Yeah, pretty much the only thing missing right now is a forge for cannons.
Yeah, pretty much.
And SortOf will confirm. You've got a third base. That's another Void Ray in the air.
Yeah, did he spot the... I don't necessarily know if he spotted the second Void Ray, so... like, if he's paranoid... Yeah, if he's paranoid, he could think it's a Tempest play again.
He may.
Like...
He's already a little bit flustered.
Yeah, because the Void Rays...
His own, creep tumor.
And the Void Rays are being banked up at home. Like, we still haven't seen an Overlord or an Overseer dive in to scout anything. The Lynx are being very persistent, and I guess he does scout the +1 flyer attack is on the way, and that is a bit of a tell that it's more into Void Rays.
Yeah, so long as anything is researching on that Cyber Core. And you know they already have Warp Gate. You know it's going to be something for the sky.
Yeah. Exactly. Meanwhile, there we go. Same response. Infestation Pit and Spire is on the way here for SortOf. Going to be getting ready to dive into those Corruptors. Meanwhile, the Void Rays have finally revealed themselves. They are running across the map, looking to try and deny the base. SortOf racing him there with his Queens.
Is it going to be enough? He's got a little bit of transfuse energy on those Queens. Maybe enough to stand toe-to-toe with the Void Rays? Oh no.
Wow.
Oh no, you can't transfuse a morphing in building. But thankfully SortOf cancels it.
Oh god. Thankfully he cancels it, but mate, he may have to cancel it again because those Void Rays are getting ready to dive back in.
It's looking likely.
Oh god, as they
this is all without Flux Veins.
Yeah, and this is dangerous because if they go into the main base, the Queens are very out of position right now.
They actually are. He could snipe the lair.
Oh, goes to the Evo chamber. And meanwhile, massive stasis ward in the natural base. Gets the Evo, denies a +1 carapace.
Look at that income graph dip for SortOf. It's going far into favor of HellRaiser for the time being. There is a ring of Spore Crawlers. It's not going to be
enough. Where are the Queens?
HellRaiser wants the lair. The lair that's morphing into a hive.
Mate, he SortOf never rotated the Queens around. He was stubborn. He stayed at the 4th base location. Because of that, there was nothing to stop these Void Rays from targeting down the hive.
His tech is so delayed. He needs to get another lair right now, and if he does get another lair, it's going to be exposed. Either that, or he has to delay his tech even further, waiting for this main hatchery to finish up. Wow.
Meanwhile, we do see that SortOf is getting ready for a big push. Like, to be fair, he has a lot of Queens, he has Roaches and Lings. I think he's given up on the idea of making Corruptors. But I don't know if it's going to be enough, because the Forge is done. Cannons are on the way, Carriers are on the way. I guess the Void Rays are a little bit out of position.
Batteries. They are. I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen a recall yet. But it is always available to HellRaiser when the situation gets dicey.
Yeah, exactly, and it may be starting to get dicey. Meanwhile, Tempest are Tempest are on the way. Okay,
It's
sure.
always Tempest in the end. We always come back to Tempest. I love it. And you know why it makes sense? Because Tempest, they kind of like a circle. You always go full circle back to the Tempest.
Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, we did see that recall. You know, they did come back. Cannons are finishing up. Shield batteries are finishing up. The natural is a little bit exposed, to be fair. But, oh god, this is gonna be rough for SortOf to try and break.
Yeah, already spending just about every single corrosive bile. Doesn't get anything. Is able to zone out the air army temporarily, but only temporarily. The Cyber Core does get taken out, though.
Yeah, it denies.
No more Stalkers.
Yeah, it denies +2 as well. +2 is on the way. First Disruptor comes out. The shot goes off, but it only connects with the Queens.
Yeah, the Queens were very badly weakened, but a lot of transfuse were able to land the corrosive biles, taking out just about every Void Ray.
Mate, 5, 6 Void Rays go down to the biles. HellRaiser, please. Like, the hold was there. You just had to dodge the biles.
In fairness, I think the hold still is here for HellRaiser, but it is a lot less certain for him.
Oh my god.
Another bile lands on the Tempest. Unfortunately, not enough to take them out. The Queens have been dealt with, and HellRaiser has just about held the... He has just about weathered the worst of the swarm.
Mate, that was a messy hold. that was incredibly messy. Oh my god. 7 voids and a Tempest went down to biles, mate. That was pure biles. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's like sort of saying, yes, I know you only need 1 Purification Nova, but I tell you what, corrosive biles, I can land them too.
I guess so, mate. I guess so. But as you were saying, HellRaiser does hold on, and he only lost 4 probes. Alongside all those Void Rays,
really?
which is, yeah, like, it's honestly not that bad at all. That's why his worker count is still insane. We do see a little bit of a run by, but there's plenty of static defense, and we do see HellRaiser is responding to it. There's no other multi-prong attack, so we'll see if more workers can get picked up.
Yeah, SortOf has kind of given up on trying to save this army. Or more accurately, he's fine with getting rid of these Ravages. He is getting the next stage attack. Takes out 11 probes.
Yeah.
Nice little bit of damage.
Again, the biles are insane. I think he only got 4 probes, and then the biles landed, and in came the rest to round off to 11. Meanwhile, another Ling run by HellRaiser. He's trying to get his 5th base up and running, but it's not going to happen here. I feel like we've seen this scenario before, but with Strange, where HellRaiser, he just doesn't have enough supply. He's being torn apart.
Yeah, this is a very slow Skytoss army. Battery overcharge forced to be popped in order to keep these probes alive. I tell you what, Lings, they're definitely a lot more mobile than Ravagers are.
That they are, mate. They get surrounds, and they get to take out every single one of these Disruptors. This is a huge pickup, SortOf. Even though the initial push, the initial almost all-in here at the natural failed, like, he has done so well to recover afterwards.
Yeah, just about equaling out the income. Taking a slight lead when it comes to the minerals, too.
Yeah, exactly. He may not have killed too many workers, but he's denied the 5th base. He reset the Disruptor count, killing 4 Disruptors, which is huge without the use of Vipers, like, nigh almost impossible. So
mining at this base.
Yeah, like, very well done here from SortOf.
And just like that, he's bought himself enough time, enough breathing room to get a much more effective fighting force out. The Lings coming in for another run by.
That they are. This time the carriers aren't too far away, and the Lings, they do not quite find a way into the natural. Not yet. So finally, HellRaiser, he's like stemming the bleeding a little bit. But like this entire time, HellRaiser has been struggling to defend his bases, and SortOf, mate, he's been expanding.
Yeah. Well, you attack, expand, may as well. You know that your opponent's army is going to be distracted.
Now the real question is, like, you know, you say this phrase a lot, you know, he's like poking the bear, you know, but like what happens once you do that? Like, HellRaiser is still maxing out, like he still has a very formidable army in a head-to-head engagement.
That's going to be the question, isn't it? For the record, I feel like I only started saying that a lot since a couple of days ago. Another nice little run by Bailing Bus as well. SortOf should just about be able to decimate the economy from here. May be able to pick up some tech as well. HellRaiser, though, he's going straight to the other side of the map. He is going full base trade mode.
Let's go. We need a little bit more time here for SortOf. He's working on your power side, but he doesn't have it quite yet. He has a lot of infestors, but only has the ability to fungal. But he does land.
And they're looking pretty vulnerable. Does land, and the Biles do connect with a couple of carriers. Plenty of queens as well in the back line with a ton of microbial shroud to keep them alive. Interceptor's getting picked off one by one. This one disruptor. It's looking so exposed.
Incredibly exposed, but he does back off. Meanwhile, all those lings were cleaned up. Now HellRaiser only has to focus on this one attack across the map. Those infestors, honestly, they don't have a lot of energy. Even though they have Neural, they just can't really do anything with it.
But do they really need Neural when the Biles are this juicy? Microbial Shroud is the absolute MVP right now. Queens are the only thing stemming the SkyToss tide.
Yeah, that they are, but I'm a little bit concerned because, again, we're running out of energy for more Microbial Shrouds, and the carriers are standing strong. The Interceptors, to be fair, are being shaved off, and HellRaiser does get forced back.
But he's got plenty of resources to remake them. He just needs a little bit of time. Oh, that one disruptor, it could land a Purification Nova right in the heart of those queens, and that could really change things, but the transfuse is quick enough.
God, that it is.
Trying to pick off a couple of infestors, but get fungled instead.
Exactly, the reinforcing infestors are the MVPs here. They do manage to land those fungals, but the zealots are coming in, and they're getting on top of the infestors.
They are, aren't they? They are, aren't they? As they're out of energy. HellRaiser forced to recall. Let's get too much damage done in the end. Takes out a lot of queens, and in fairness, he is able to keep about half of his high-tech units alive, but I feel like he needed to accomplish a little bit more.
Say half. He lost
that fight.
He lost one carrier. This is going to be his
second.
second.
He lost one carrier? Really?
Yeah. Now he lost the second carrier, trying to retreat.
Yeah, he mostly just lost Void Rays. Wow.
Yeah. It was the Void Rays that were falling. 8 Void Rays did fall, as well as the Disruptors. The Disruptors, their control had left much to be desired. You know, the Lings were able to get surrounds on them once again. Meanwhile, speaking of Lings, Cracklings are able to almost take out this Nexus.
Yeah, HellRaiser keeping that 5th base alive just barely.
He needs it, mate. He's been trying to get it for the past, like, 5 minutes. He's starting to run out of resources in his other bases here, so he desperately needs to get another one up and running, but this is still vulnerable to another run-by. Meanwhile, SortOf, speaking of run-bys, has the Ultras up and running. Not much for the Ultras to do other than to go harass.
I guess he can tank a couple of shots.
Yeah.
Potentially, maybe. Not quite.
I mean, to be fair, Disruptors are on the way, so I mean, they will be useful to help deal with those at least.
Yeah.
And now,
wait,
mate, the long-awaited Vipers, they're finally out.
Show us a couple of good yoinks or even better parabombs, like so. HellRaiser is able to split off that one Void Ray, but he's zoning the army out so well that the SkyToss army is forced to take damage from the queens in their retreat.
Yeah, exactly. He still has no answer to these queens. Like, he needs to start transitioning into, I want to almost say, Immortals to help deal with the not just the Ultras, but also that massive queen force. Meanwhile, speaking of the Ultras, they go for a massive run by, and this base is gonna go down.
HellRaiser asking for a quick little pause, and it's not as good a time as any to theorize what HellRaiser can do.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, we're not in the middle of a big engagement. Sure, there's harassment going on, but nothing major. So HellRaiser, hopefully he's going to be able to figure out and sort out his issues, maybe some hotkey issues.
Yeah. I didn't feel any lag, do you?
No.
Yeah, could always also be a latency thing.
Yeah, could be food arriving, you know, maybe Uber Eats, you know, could be someone at the door. So hopefully everything's okay and we can resume.
Fingers crossed.
And yeah, I guess my question to you is, like, what do you think the best way is for HellRaiser to deal with the mass queen army that SortOf has? Because like the carriers are not cutting it right now.
Yeah, a little while ago, kind of thought maybe Storm. Like, normally you see a lot of High Templar with Storms and feedbacks to back up a Sky army that's mostly carrier focus, but in this situation where it's mostly queens and ultralisks, not so sure.
Hmm.
Maybe Archons? Question mark.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
again, Archons have a limited range.
I have to wonder as well. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to High Templar just for feedbacks now that you say it, because feedbacks are a great way to deal damage despite Microbial Shroud, right?
True. And if you set up the, I'm not sure what it's called, the rapid fire kind of thing, you can't feedback every single queen.
Exactly. And then,
I'm sure HellRaiser has that.
yeah, and then suddenly, like, their longevity is gone as well. They won't be able to transfuse, which, by the way, the transfuses have been on point. That's why these queens have been trading so well in these fights. They've been surviving so long because of that.
Yep.
So, I feel like maybe HellRaiser has also realized that as well, because he is trying to work on Storm.
Aha! He was listening to us. Probably not.
Uh-oh, and mate, we've been here before. HellRaiser, this time he is splitting up his army, is trying to defend both ends of the map at once.
And he should just about be able to do it. Oh, not here. He will end up losing that Nexus. We're getting to a point where SortOf is about to start taking HellRaiser's bases.
Yep, exactly, as the top left-hand base has been taken by SortOf. He has a massive bank to work with. Let's go! Broodlords are finally on the way. So now it's kind of too late for High Templar. Like, it's gonna be so difficult for them to get close enough when Broodlords are coming into the mix.
Especially if that's the only thing that's on the ground.
I would love to see, you know, some High Templar mixed in with a War Prism. We saw Showtime do that earlier today against Serral, even with 2 War Prisms, so maybe we'll see that. Finally, though, after so long, SortOf is finally being aggressive across the map and harassing one of these mineral lines.
Yeah, that is going to be the start of evening things up when it comes to the economy. Doesn't want to overstay his welcome either. SortOf going for a harass in this 5th base location once again. Actually getting a kill on a lot of these pylons.
Yeah, the pylons and the cannons and the shield batteries are all being cleaned up. The Void Rays do show up and they will be able to stem the tide a little bit. They do force these Ultras and Lings away. But again, whenever the Void Rays move out, the Ultras and Lings, they come back.
Yeah, SortOf going to be trying to keep his eyes on this base. That's why he's sending out so many changelings.
That he is, and now SortOf he's going to be forced to leave some supply there to defend it. Meanwhile, the main armies are still posturing against each other here on the other side. Broodlords, Infestors, Queens. Oh boy.
As we have a couple of High Templar to meet them. Both players are maxed out once again, killing these warping buildings too.
Yeah, mate, he got a kill on that Nexus. Like, HellRaiser, he doesn't have a mineral bank, you know? Like, these are expensive losses.
Really are. It's pretty rare that you see a Protoss player with more of a gas bank than a mineral bank.
Doesn't happen too often. Oh boy, we'll see if HellRaiser can eventually break through and take another base. I'm a little bit concerned though. The Vipers are actually forced over here towards the south instead, so this northern army won't have them for support.
That they won't, but they have a lot of Spore Crawls to fall back to defensively. The Parasitic Bomb.
Yeah, exactly. We have a bit of a late split there. Oh my god.
And the Void Rays have to stand in position and to regain their shield. SortOf is able to deny that 6th base once again.
Yeah, it looks like HellRaiser's struggling. He's trying to figure out, like, where do I want to push? Where do I want to be, really? And it looks like he's decided to go here towards the south. He's like, you know what? Like, this position here towards the north is way too entrenched. I'm just going to give it up, and we're just going to go. And this might trigger, like, a pseudo base trade. Like, this might trigger SortOf to push in. Yeah. But he responds instead.
Quite. Yeah, so to reposition his army. Now, here comes the base trade as you realize what extent of HellRaiser's army is towards the south. There are a couple of disruptors up to the north, but what are they going to do against Broodlords? They are going to dance around and die, pretty much.
Yeah, unfortunately, HellRaiser didn't split up his army well enough to respond to these Broodlords. The Tempests, they were on the way to respond. There we go. Finally, they do turn her back around. Oh, no,
and a multi-prong from SortOf has been insane. Not necessarily because of how much damage it's doing, but because of how much it's immobilizing the army of HellRaiser.
Yeah, yeah. Like time and time again, we've seen HellRaiser unsure of where to move his army, like and how to split up his army.
Yeah, and every single time, even if SortOf doesn't kill a base, even if SortOf doesn't get workers, which he usually does, by the way, he buys himself a lot more time, a lot more room to maneuver around. That's a brilliant fungal on top of just about every single interceptor. Most of them are starting to get taken out.
Yeah, exactly. But more importantly, at the same time, almost every single one of these Tempests got taken out by the Vipers and Corruptors, like sort of winning the front towards the north. Meanwhile, here, the Interceptors are dishing out a lot of damage. Finally, we see some Storms.
And Storms really do not care whatsoever about Microbial Shroud. They do care a little bit about Transfuse, though. But even that's starting to run out here for SortOf.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we can see the F2A move there as all the observers do congregate here on top of the army. Ay, ay, ay. And is it going to be enough? The Corruptors, the Vipers, they're on their way.
Yeah, the Chargers were serving in time for the Tide for a little while, but not anymore. I said it was a little bit tough to determine who was winning, but then I just looked at the carriers and realized how few interceptors they have left.
Yeah.
So, HellRaiser getting a little bit desperate, storming his own army in an attempt to keep the Zerglings away, but it's not quite working out for him.
Exactly, as we do see sort of still powering on through with the power of the Queens. It looks like he shouldn't have enough to break HellRaiser here, but he was able to take out the Nexus, not just here towards the south, but also that top left-hand base as well.
Which should be enough of a consolation. I mean, just the sheer fact that he not only was able to occupy this army towards the south, but also kill that base.
Ugh.
That is massive. Meanwhile, the Brute Lords completely uncontested towards the north.
Yeah, they just keep going. Hey, they get one base, then now they want the natural as well. Like, HellRaiser, he's trying to push into creep. He wants to maybe end the game here and annihilate the army, but I just don't know if he has enough.
HellRaiser basically doesn't have any mining. He has to win here and now if he has any chances. But as he was saying, I'm not entirely convinced. Maybe the carriers are, if he's able to deal with the Queens in time?
I mean, maybe. I mean, there's no... Where the Fungals, right? We did have one Parasitic Bomb, another Parasitic Bomb on top of these carriers, but the Corruptors are being cleaned up.
The Void Rays really helping their prismatic alignment. The Corruptors do get cleaned up. Microbial Shroud gets thrown down on top of these Queens.
He has no minerals.
Isn't quite able to break
Look
it.
at the minerals,
he has no
mate.
minerals. He can't remake his interceptors.
He cannot rebuild them. What he has, and the Corruptors are coming out. Sort of is spending his bank, though. Again, this is so close.
It really is. Despite the interceptor count being so low, the Void Rays are helping out a ton, but they finally get taken out. This one Tempest, I'm not convinced this is going to be enough.
Yeah, exactly. What I will say is that sort of is trying to focus down the carriers, not the interceptors. So, like, the interceptors are still dishing out a lot of damage, but oh my god, carrier after carrier are being focused down, and it looks like sort of has held.
GG is called, and we're getting our ace match.
That we are going all the way to our ace match. GG, congratulations, sort of. Again, really just dominating that game there in so many different aspects. It was a rough start from from HellRaiser, like in the initial engagements, you know, with the Biles killing every single one of his Void Rays. Like, that's just something that you don't see too often.
And with that, unfortunately, we are getting our ace match, but HellRaiser is out.
I believe you're correct.
Yep. To check the Wikipedia map. Kung Fu Panda versus Safano is still going on, but he did take the first map. So that does mean that with this loss, HellRaiser's out. He is unable to advance.
It's already been confirmed. Feels bad, man. But yes, HellRaiser and sort of both these players, they will no longer be making it out of this group, but they're still fighting it out here, trying to figure out which one will come out on top.
There is still a bounty to be made.
True.
Determined by series score.
Exactly. It's all going to come down to this final map on Jagannath.
Who's gonna take it?
God, who indeed? Who indeed? Oh boy. I don't know which way this is gonna go. Maybe we should see a return to the Tempest play from HellRaiser. I don't know, man.
Oh, well, and Jagannatha though. I'm curious to see whether or not SortOf takes a launch pad. As we conclude this series now on Jagannatha LE, we're in the top right-hand corner of the map, finding all the way in the top right-hand corner, the blue Zerg player coming out from the land of Sweden. He is, of course, temporarily going to be representing Group Gaming, but of course still looking for a more permanent team. He is SortOf.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Ukrainian Protoss player. He is red, representing Dominaticus Esports. It is HellRaiser.
I wonder if this just is a weight off his back now. Now that he knows, it's confirmed that he's not gonna advance. And that there is still a little bit of money on the line, so maybe he's gonna play loose, and maybe he's gonna try whatever.
I mean, maybe. I mean, to be fair, we don't know if he knows, right? Like, it's possible that he just didn't do the math.
Didn't do the math, or intentionally didn't look at his opponent's standing. That is something that a couple of players do to, make sure they don't mind game themselves before a series starts, especially this late when they know that any game, anything can happen. It's just one way of really focusing on, what you can control and whatnot.
Yeah, it's one of those things where ignorance is bliss, right? Like, because of this, he doesn't have any added stress on this whatsoever, so he can play out his game the way he wants. And that can be a preferred thing for some players. So, yeah, we'll see how this ends here in game number 3. I imagine we're going to see SkyToss again. I'm going to be blown away if HellRaiser throws on the Twilight Council.
Well, prepare to get blown away.
Let's go. Oh god. Personally, I would love it. I would love it. It'd be out of left field, and I feel like even SortOf wouldn't see it coming.
Imagine if it was the 2-base charge of Rush. He is getting the Stalker first.
I mean, you're not wrong. He is getting the Stalker, but
he is getting the Stalker. All right.
Yeah. It's what we expected.
Stalker first does mean it's kind of a 50-50 chance, right? Whether or not the Protoss player goes Stargate. If it was an Adept first, then, well, almost every time it's going to be Stargate.
Yeah. So we, of course, have the first Stargate on the way. But where do we go from here? Are we going to see a second Stargate? Or are we going to see that Fleet Beacon? As you were saying, like, 2,000 Atmospheres does lend towards that Fleet Beacon play a little bit better. We'll see. It does feel like HellRaiser needs momentum early on, though. More so than SortOf, because we saw once SortOf gets into a comfortable position, like those run-bys really pull HellRaiser apart.
Absolutely. It's just kind of what happens when you go for such a static or immobile unit composition like that. And I guess on Jagannatha, at least when it comes to the initial 3 bases, it is easier to defend because they are a little bit closer, but once you start getting into 4th base, 5th base territory, it's 2,000 atmospheres all over again.
Exactly. And without a clear lead, then HellRaiser can struggle there. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. HellRaiser, of course, has found many ways to just get into the game, right? Whether it's blindsiding his opponent with Tempest, whether it's, even in the previous game, he got into the main and he killed the Hive, if you remember. That's how it all popped off.
He did. That's how it popped off. I can't believe that SortOf came back from that, honestly.
It was all about the biles, mate.
It really was.
Oh god, maybe HellRaiser was feeling a little bit complacent after he signed the Hive as well. Maybe he was feeling a little bit too good, a little bit on cloud 9, and was a little bit lax with his micro as well. It's quite possible.
I can't blame him for that. I would be too, especially when you snipe the Hive as it's in transition, as it's morphing in from the lair. You know that they have 0 Hive tech. They can't produce anything. really.
Exactly. That's also why those Vipers were delayed so much in the previous game. But here we go, just like game number 2, HellRaiser is going double Stargate, Void Ray, no Tempest to begin with. Feels bad, man.
Yeah. We'll see if this works out better for him. Yeah, there's a lot of dead air that Void Race can retreat to if he decides to be a bit more active with them, if he wants to hunt down these bases more.
Speaking of, yo, the Adepts actually slip in and 3 workers get picked off, and he gets a scout off? Mate.
Oh, might be able to pick off even more. Keeps the Adepts.
He does.
The Adepts alive, but he cancels the shade right at the last second.
Exactly.
It will go down, but not before getting 8 drones.
Exactly. I love that he didn't commit to the shade. Because of that, so many more workers went down. Ay.
And this could potentially be the start of the lead you were talking about, where HellRaiser, he needs a little bit of momentum. He needs to have a little bit of a more stable economy than his opponent before really popping off.
Yeah, this could be the start of things. I will be concerned once we see Ravagers, though. Not again.
I can imagine so will HellRaiser. 6-minute infestation pit coming out from SortOf.
God, that's a fast infestation
pit.
Oh boy, we'll see what this is going to be for. Does he want to go into a fast hive once again? I mean, we'll see if history repeats itself. Speaking of, the Void Rays are getting ready to snipe something.
Maybe they're just infestors, but to be determined.
Ooh, this time the Queens, yeah, they're in position in the main base, as well as the third.
And the Void Rays do get scouted. There's even a Spore Crawler by the third base. No, HellRaiser trying to fight, and he will pick off a Queen. Keeps his Void Rays alive. But any longer in that position, and I think it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, exactly. I'm honestly surprised that he got the Queen. Not gonna lie there. Oh, but he does back off. Meanwhile, with that revelation, HellRaiser does spot the infestation pit.
He knows the possibility of a hive coming his way. He knows that infestors can get out now, so he is throwing down that Temple Archives. Feedbacks are invaluable in this position. Really nice pick off on the high energy Queen, and now the other Queens can't be transfused.
Exactly. Now the Spore is going to go down, and the Queens need to respect this. They need to respond. Are they going to get here in time? Because the hatchery's under threat. May's going to go down.
It should. Unfortunately, the high energy Queens were on the high ground, weren't in range to transfuse that. And I do like that SortOf was trying to flank HellRaiser, but unfortunately just didn't quite work out for him in this scenario. 2
games in a row, SortOf, he's just been slow to react. He's been slow to rotate his Queens, and because of that, hatcheries just keep getting picked off.
And it's gonna get picked off again. That was a kill, not a cancel.
Mate, he's gonna get another.
Firing.
Yeah, he's gonna get another Queen kill as well. These Void Rays have done so well for themselves, and not a single Void Ray went down.
Mate.
This time.
Even had that recall available to come back home when SortOf went for a counter harass. Beautifully done.
Exactly. Here we go. All the Void Rays have survived. But it's not over, because we have seen the Roach Ravager push still deal almost game-ending damage before. So, yeah, SortOf has a chance, but it's been a very rough start, and he did want to go for those infestors, but this is so late compared to when he got the infestation pit.
Yeah. It's very delayed.
God.
And again, it just buys HellRaiser even more time. These are Void Rays that don't have Flux Veins, by the way. They won't have a recall available either, but there's enough of them that they should be able to go toe-to-toe with the Queens at least.
That they do. Queen goes down, so will the Spore. I mean, the rest of the Queens this time are going to be able to meet up, and HellRaiser needs to respect this. He needs to back off.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a recall available. Trying to dip in and out. Is able to force a couple of transfuses out towards the end there, but does take quite a number of casualties when it comes to the Void Rays.
HellRaiser, he was a little bit too greedy there. He wasn't respecting the Queens, and as a result, he lost 2 Void Rays. Oh boy, he was trading so well, slipping up a little bit here. Not the biggest of deals, but it is a bit of a slip up. Maybe the start of that comeback from SortOf. I don't know, because HellRaiser made now he's pushing out with his Charge Shots and Archons.
Yeah, he made a very big transition from the Void Rays to a Charged Archon army. And it is really looking to punish the Infestor Roach Ravager Ling army that SortOf has.
Oh my god, he gets it again!
Oh, he even waited for it to finish so it couldn't get cancelled.
The fourth base just perpetually gets killed. Meanwhile, HellRaiser, he has to be so careful with how he pushes in, because even though HellRaiser has the supply lead and he has a better army head-to-head, Fungals can change that. A Fungal on the charge lots or a Fungal on these Void Rays, I mean, everything could change here. Yo, SortOf, he wants it. He wants the Fungal! He's gonna land it! Oh god!
He's gonna land it, and the Corrosive Biles behind that take out just about every Void Ray. Only three of them, remaining. So try to transfuse out of that. Meanwhile, a run by should force a cancel on this fifth base. Like so. But it is just a fifth base, not the biggest of deals.
Yeah, thankfully it was a cancel, it wasn't a kill, so HellRaiser not taking the biggest loss there, but he does get forced back, SortOf finally having some momentum. Some, though, like he still desperately needs to get a fourth up. It's just not happening.
Well, at least this time he doesn't have to worry too much about his fourth base getting cancelled again. Worries have been dealt with, and HellRaiser isn't remaking them. This is the bulk of the army for both players. Ooh, High Templar almost goes down just before Storm finished.
Exactly. We see another Fungal. Unfortunately, there was no follow-up chain Bile as they were on cooldown. HellRaiser trying to push them forward, but another Fungal lands.
Yeah, this time, though, not quite enough Corrosive Biles to really take advantage of that. Massive Zealot run by, though.
Oh god, it is massive. Another Fungal. The Biles continue to connect. The Storms, though, are blanketing the army of SortOf. SortOf, he's pushing through, though. He doesn't care about the Zealots, but maybe he should.
Yeah, he's kind of forced all in now.
Oh god.
He does bring back a couple of his Roach Ravager force, but that just leaves this army, this Queen Infestor army, that much more vulnerable. Storm's kind of mitigating the Microbial Shroud and does force every single transfuse out of them. I feel like these Stalkers should just about clean it up.
Yeah, you say that, but we do have the reinforcements coming in, and HellRaiser is not efficiently spending his resources. There we go. Finally, we have another warp in. He had such a massive bank, but the supplies just wasn't there for HellRaiser.
Yeah, I didn't notice that the run-by was dealt with. And HellRaiser could have won that fight if it was just the Queens and the Infestors, but as you were saying, the Roaches don't have anything to worry about back at home. They do make their way across the map. Is SortOf gonna do this? Another Bile lands.
HellRaiser's panicking. He's missing macro cycles. Again, the Robos and the Stargates are not producing despite the bank, despite not being supply blocked.
Look at how much of an income advantage HellRaiser has. How much of it? But he hasn't been able to really spend that effectively.
No, he has not, and because of that, SortOf is pushing through. He just continues to land these Fungals. Continues to land the Corrosive Biles on top of them.
He's on twice the army supply with 10% of the bank.
That he is again. Look at that bank, and it's just not being spent. Oh god, we do have another warp in coming in, but because of the Fungals, even though we have blinks, like it's not enough.
Yeah, we'll say that SortOf is starting to slip up when it comes to the Biles this time.
True.
Biling where the army is instead of where they will be. So HellRaiser, once he spends his bank, should be able to chase. I mean, even before spending his bank, is able to chase his way. But once he does warp in fully, he can go for the counterattack if he so chooses.
Yeah, exactly. Like HellRaiser needs to breathe for a moment, and he needs to calm down. And again, he can deal with this. Oh god, he just has to be so careful with these engagements. He's getting ready for another massive warping of Zealots across the map.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to go when it comes to winning this game, but he's giving up a little bit of ground in this engagement. Once again, these Fungals are the absolute MVPs, especially when they're chained with the Corrosive Biles.
Yeah, the big difference, though, is that Ravagers are finally going down. Like, they are slowly getting picked off over time. Meanwhile, the War Prism isn't quite being used for anything here. HellRaiser is still focusing on this one push.
Yeah, his attention is in the defense right now. This is the last line of defense, but it is a very strong one.
And you know what? The Infestors, I think they have one more Fungal left in him. The Nexus will go down. Is it the biggest of deals, though? Again, HellRaiser, look at that worker count. Oh my god.
Pretty much. He's up basically 50 workers at this point. Has SortOf been remaking? He hasn't at all. He is 110% all in.
Yeah.
Some more pretty good biles, taking out most of the immortals. That's a juicy purification Nova.
That it is, and like I'm not gonna lie, I feel like these zealots are would be more useful here at home. But
well,
he keeps sending them across the map to harass and kill what little workers are left. There we go. There we have the aggressive blink forward, and HellRaiser does it. He closes it out. And he takes the series 2.